In today's NFL, an elite tight end is widely considered one of the most elusive athletes to get. Trying to find a guy, game-changing tight end, a guy who is going to be too big for your average cornerback, maybe a little faster than your linebacker, trying to cover him. We just had Darren Waller on. He's a all-pro. We had Travis Kelce on recently. These are guys who make big plays. But you can go back. It started with Mike Ditka, John Mackey, Antonio Gates, Tony Gonzalez, Kellen Winslow. They sort of changed the game because that's a big guy who can get off the line of scrimmage, and he can also beat you down the field, and he's a great blocker. George Kittle, great blocker, great tight end. Now you have Gronk. Gronk, when you look back on what Belichick did with Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski, he thought, okay, I don't have those special wide receivers, but I have two tight ends who can beat you down the field. And nobody had employed two tight ends that had that kind of ability. And make no mistake about it, Aaron Hernandez had a lot of ability. He might have been more talented than Gronk. Obviously, he had his issues. But Gronk is announcing his retirement, even though I could see a mid-season return. But Darren Waller, Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, they become dominant forces in the passing game. And maybe Gronk, first ballot Hall of Famer, is going to add to those numbers at some point. If not this year, then next year, because his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, after Gronk announced his retirement, said, I don't know. I could see him coming back if Tom calls him. If not this year, then next year. The next year part of it is what stood out to me. Because maybe Gronk says, let me see where Tom ends up next year. Does Tom want to play another season elsewhere next year? Does Gronk want to try out the media again? He worked for Fox before. And trying to create a role for Gronk I think is going to be tricky. Is he a studio guy? Could I put him on the field the way Fox did with Tony Siragusa? Could he give me more of an up-close, first-hand look at something, the feel of a game, and you have Gronk down there? I don't see him doing games, maybe a second screen, Julian Edelman, Gronk, maybe somebody else in there, and then they just rip it up a little bit. Maybe you do that on a Thursday night. Maybe you just let them have fun, tell stories. Not as an analyst, but if Gronk goes in, somebody's going to pay a lot for Gronk. I just don't know how you put him into play. Because I want to see him. I want the personality. He doesn't strike me as an X's and O's guy. We already went down the Jason Witten hole, and that didn't work out. But Gronk is media savvy. I just don't know. When it comes to calling a football game, the audience wants to still be told about a football game. What's going to happen? What could happen? Why did something happen? I don't know if Gronk is that kind of guy. I don't know if he looks at the game that way. But he's going to have opportunities, that's for sure. And I don't think that he is fully retired right now. Yeah, Paul.
I went back and looked at a couple of Rob Gronkowski draft profiles, and they were almost all good. They said he didn't have high-end speed or breakaway ability, but the discussion of his back issues from college were very serious. Some people, they said, did not have him as a top 3 rounds because you don't want to invest in a guy with back issues. And he would have been late first round if there was no back issues. And they got Aaron Hernandez and the Patriots in the same draft, I think in round 4. Hernandez had not a lot of red flags. They just said they weren't sure what position he was. Was he a big wide receiver or an undersized tight end?
He had red flags. We just didn't see them up the flagpole.
They weren't public as much.
Yeah. There was a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff that was covered up with Aaron Hernandez. And then eventually you're like, wait, the red flags are right there on the flagpole. We just didn't see him raised.